and once in person. So as of now, things are working.
Knock on wood.
But my little square isn't lighting up when I talk. That's why I wondered if you could hear me.
It's lighting up
Yeah.
on my screen.
We can
Okay,
hear you very well. Good
Good.
audio.
yeah.
Right.
Hey, Becky, thank you for sending out the reminders for this meeting.
Sure. I can barely remember what I'm doing myself, so I figure everybody else needs not to.
Yeah.
When the organized people can't remember, then we're in trouble. The rest of us are in trouble.
Oh,
Okay. So we don't seem to have a big crowd tonight. I didn't expect it. So
I have an email from Ann Masters, who's having a reaction to her COVID vaccine. So she will
Oh,
not
no.
be joining us.
I just left the affordable housing meeting.
I did
It's
too.
It's
Yeah.
closing up now, so maybe some people was waiting till the last minute. I was like, I don't need to hear all the answers. I'll
right.
check it out later. But it was very interesting. Did you like it, Becky?
Yeah. We should have
That's
some
a lot.
members who live in Edwardsville sign up to be informed about anything that goes on. I feel like I'm not in Edwardsville, so I can't really.
Is this the meeting that John Harvey was instrumental in starting?
No, this is
I
City of Edwardsville.
Okay,
John was there and he was asking questions, but it's not his group. But I'm
Okay.
sure he'll tap into it.
John Cunningham. John Cunningham was there, right?
John Harvey was there and John Cunningham was there.
Okay, I didn't see John Harvey. Okay.
I was going to wait another minute or two to officially
Yeah.
open the meeting. So
Well, I just mentioned that I was fascinated by the figures.
Yeah.
She had really good figures about exactly what our area median income was and how much housing everybody could afford, and
Broke it
it
down
was
by
very-
race. Yeah.
Well, you
broken
know,
down by
Walt, is Walt, whatever his name is, still, he's the head of NAACP. Is he still the Economic Development Director for Edwardsville?
yes,
Yeah.
So, you know, that position, they have a lot of that. They should have all that data collected before that
This didn't come out of
economic
his office.
development.
This didn't come out of his office. This came out of Emily Foltz did all the work on this.
Oh, okay. Working for, what does she work for?
planning.
Yeah. Planning?
Plan.
I
Yeah.
think she's the city planner.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, city planner.
As I know, at one time we had wanted her, well, we did, which we scheduled to talk about the rezoning, and that's when COVID shut everything down. So,
Was that on the league? Was that in the paper about that new housing, pre-manufacturing and housing development they're wanting to put in down there on Pogue? Was that?
but that's Glen Carver.
No, it's county right now, but Edwardsville is going to annex it. But was that in the
I
paper,
was
or did I read that on Action Metro East site? I don't get the intelligences, so I don't know if it was in the paper.
It was in the, I think it was the intelligence, and that must have been where I saw it. For some reason, I thought it was Glen Carver, but whatever.
No, they said it was unincorporated right now, Madison
Oh,
County, but
okay.
Edwardsville would
Annex it.
annex it. Mhm.
Okay.
I close the door for my husband.
Someone else is, oh, okay, Carol.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
good, thanks. We just left the other Zoom meeting tonight on affordable housing. It looks,
Well, it seems like two other people here were at that, so.
yeah, I think it's, they're really serious about
We
it.
hope.
Good.
Yeah,
They said they were going to hire some kind of contractor or something.
yeah, they want an official housing study by,
Professional housing consultant. That was very interesting. I'd never even heard of something like that, but sounds good to me to decide what the housing demand actually is in Edwardsville. who really
Right.
wants
I
to live
think
here.
Edwardsville isn't the only place. A lot of cities are experiencing housing crises. It's, I think, a, you know, nationwide thing. So this is a job that's been created out of this.
A few years ago, we went to, what's that, Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd been there a couple of times and just did our thing and didn't think about it too much. This time we had a crack in our windshield. So we had to go find a worker, somebody who could fix this crack in our car windshield. And we talked to him for a while. He was like off in the boonies somewhere. I mean, it's still in town, but it was, not on a main street anywhere. And he said that the biggest problem that they had was there were all these rich people moving in there and there was nobody there to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who were there, like him, were really having a hard time affording living there because it was so expensive.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, I hope wherever I live doesn't turn into that, because I want people that can, run the grocery store and, have my normal life procedures. And he said it was getting really tough.
Yeah, well, we found that down there in Sanibel Island in Florida. The
Yeah.
workers could not afford to live there. And it was the league and some churches and stuff had this fund to subsidize their being able to live on the island, the workers.
You know, if you look at economic inequality, it's been over 20 years or so since the minimum wage was raised. Now, prices have gone up a lot, but the wage, the expected wage you want to pay a entry-level person, $7.10. There's no place in the entire country you can live on that amount of money you can't afford an apartment anywhere in the United States. And unfortunately, a lot of our Congress people are very wealthy, so it's like no big deal to them,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a growing problem, I think.
Yeah, I think even at $15 an hour, Carol, it's difficult for people to afford rental property.
You're right, I agree.
Well, and it depends on where you live too, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But here in Edwardsville, I think it would be difficult.
Yeah, we're host parents for some of the international students for SIUE. And they've got 5 and 6 kids living in a 2-bedroom apartment just on top of each other, growing boys. I can't believe it during COVID that they're living all cramped up in this little room apartment, but they couldn't afford anything more when they came here.
And that's really against zoning. I mean, that's really against the zoning if the neighbors, somebody complains about that.
Well,
Because,
no, not if it's not R1.
oh, if not, if it's, that's
If
something
it's
R1.
R1, but I don't think there's limits like that.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. This was supposed to be the program planning meeting. We don't have a huge crowd here, but the only couple of announcements I had was a reminder that if somebody wanted to do the observer training, it's this Saturday. The message is on the League of Women Voters of Illinois website, if you want to sign up.
Which
to do
was pretty
that.
interesting. Brett and I attended that. I don't know who
Yeah.
else did.
And
was
then
pretty
the other thing is, we want to thank everybody who participated in the doing the voter service forums. And I guess they're set now. Well, I know cable, if you have the charter cable 993, they're running them every day until the election. So, and they're on the website, correct, Becky?
What is that cable station
And
again?
Facebook.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
that
You
cable?
can get to them from Facebook, our Facebook page. You can get to them from our website page.
We had a question today on our Facebook page that asked, where can I get to the forum? So, there's conversation going on. People are looking for them.
I
So
really would recommend that everybody, you talk to people if they've asked you questions or something, to refer you to those options so they can see them. Because a lot of people feel that they don't know a whole lot about the candidates. As I've gotten a couple phone calls from personal friends and people I know asking questions about the election. So, Does
What's the
anyone?
cable? What is the cable station again? Number
993.
993?
And we were told they're running it every day, twice a day.
Twice a
I don't
day.
know if that means each one once or
No, each one twice a day. Each one
now
twice a
until
day.
the election. So
Is that
that's,
just in Edwardsville? Does Glen Carbon have access to that too? Or is that?
No, no,
I would think Glen Carbon does, don't
No.
they? If they have 993. Oh, they
Glen
can't
Car-
access.
no, this is on charter.
Yeah.
Oh, it's, you have to have
Charter
charter.
TV,
It's,
you have
but
Charter
it's the
TV, you
government
can get it.
access channel. Right.
Is that same thing as Spectrum now?
Yes. Okay. Okay, so I guess we'll go ahead and turn the meeting over to Carol, who's going to do the program planning aspect.
Okay, and this, if any of you, whoops.
Uh-oh, geeks have to come back.
And if everybody could mute themselves if they're not actually speaking, that would help. Everybody else mute yourself, please.
Okay, well, this program planning is like we did for the state program planning. So I'm going to go over the programs that we have that are continuing and just give you a very, very brief look at the positions. And then we'll want to know if we want to retain it, to drop it, or to revise it. Okay, and then when we finish with that, we're open to suggestions for any new studies that we would like to do for our local area. Okay. Okay, and these positions were listed in the bulletin, and they're in the annual meeting booklet, should you happen to have it. Hi, Sylvia.
Hi.
Okay, so the first one is Support an Effective Human Relations Commission. And I'll give you some of the background. The Human Relations Commission was established by ordinance in Edwardsville in 1963. Employment opportunities were the first concern of the group. And in 1969, a fair housing ordinance was passed by the city council, and the Human Relations Commission was given the responsibility of investigating compliance. And there's some things that we have done, and then it ends with a general statement. Since the initial league study, the role of the Human Relations Commission and the contributions it can make to local government and citizens has changed. State and federal laws now exist that give people legal channels for pursuing complaints once handled by the Human Relations Commission. These avenues give strength, power, and authority to enforce compliance regarding such things as housing and employment discrimination. The Equal Opportunity Employment Act panel uses the Edwardsville City Hall for local hearings. Further, the city has property maintenance codes and housing ordinances that are detailed and that address the issues identified as relevant by the Human Relations Commission. So handling complaints is no longer the role of the Human Relations Commission. And that commission has recently been reactivated by the city. We ask that some league members be chosen to be part of that commission, but I have not heard if that's been acted on. Have you heard anything, Joanne? Joanne?
I have not heard.
Okay. Okay. There was a lot of letters that we wrote, over the years. So with the information that we have, would you want to continue this position? Would you want to drop it, or would you like to revise it in some way?
May I speak? I think we should continue supporting it. I've also heard that Mayor Patton is going to choose members before he leaves office, and I'm not sure when that is. But I think that if we send in some names and resumes, that would facilitate maybe picking some
We
league
can
members.
forward 3
Yeah.
names.
Pardon?
Yeah,
We forwarded 3 names. All right.
okay. Is there any objection to continuing or retaining this position?
I think we need to continue and retain it and push to get someone on the committee.
Right.
What are they saying is the scope now? If it's not to handle complaints, what are they, is it supposed to be working to improve relations, or what is the point of what they're saying it's for now?
I have not heard how they are defining their role. Is anybody else?
No, I have not
I guess
heard.
it can't be bad.
It's
Yeah.
notable, I think, that at least one of the candidates running for alderperson in Edwardsville had, one of their objectives was to make sure that that got restarted, the commission. So there's interest
And one of
in,
the mayoral candidates said that also.
yeah, so
I'm
there's
not
definitely
sure which
interest.
one, but it was mentioned. Mhm.
And for the city of Edwardsville, always with the terms on the boards and commissions start on May 1. So they are starting to formulate those, and then they'll review it with whoever wins the mayoral candidate race. And then Mayor Patton and that one will go ahead and formulate all the boards and commissions where the terms are up.
Okay, we ready to move along to our second position? Okay, which is support effective Edwardsville and Glen Carbon Historic Preservation Commissions. And this position was arrived at by our league in 1978 after some earlier program items. And during this bicentennial year, the League of Women Voters of Edwardsville area created a guided tour of historic Edwardsville. And in the 1977-78 local program, we committed to publishing a historic tour of Old Edwardsville booklet, and to support the establishment of an Edwardsville Historic Preservation Commission. Okay. And that's in line with state and national positions. We gave some testimony and wrote some letters. Okay. And the latest in this booklet, of course, was published in 2004. The latest thing was recorded is the league invited the representatives from both Glen Carbon and Edwardsville Historic Preservation Commissions to present information about current projects to the membership. Okay. So again, we need to decide if we would like to retain this position, drop it, or and somehow revise it.
Did I hear you say that the league actually created a historic tour of Edwardsville?
Yes, we did.
Is there
And-
some way that somebody can get that to me to put on the website?
I have lost my booklet. I loaned it to someone who did not return it. So
Is that something you'd want on the website?
Well, that might not be.
it was,
I have 6 boxes of stuff downstairs. I will attempt to go through, and I'm not sure what's down there, but I will look.
I can check and see what's in the archives. You know, out of
Yeah,
it.
it might be in the archival library.
Yeah.
Is that something that is, so that would be ours? Is there already a tour like that on historical, like the historical, the museum or historical, I don't know what they have, commission? I mean,
I've seen little booklets when I first moved here, I saw little booklets of tour of historic LeClaire and a tour of the historic St. Louis district. I think I may have them, but I don't
I
think that
think
was,
that was the Historic Preservation
yeah,
Committee.
I don't think that was from the league.
Yeah, this was a league and it was kind of a burnt orange cover.
Yeah.
And it talked about the log cabin that's underneath some siding out on North.
North Main Street.
Okay.
Well, I can, whatever you get, if you get a hard copy to me, I can scan it in.
I'll look for it.
Thanks.
Okay. Well,
Well, did someone say there is a tour on the city's website, or were you suggesting that this one be put on the city's website?
Yeah, I think the city has since then put one on. I know they have, because it's connected by your phone and stuff. This booklet was written in the bicentennial year in 1976. So.
do we
So do
want to
Do
retain?
you think it's a valuable thing to continue to the league to provide to the community, or do you think it's been superseded by later tours?
No, well, the position is really, do we support the Historic Preservation Commission?
Okay,
That's not whether we support that particular item or not, so. You know, and I don't know when the Glen Carbon Historical Commission was put in on that study. Carol, do you have that?
No,
That was later on. Glen Carbon established their own, and they're still up and running. I know they are.
no. No, there used to be an old sheriff's residence where the rapid transit is downtown Edwardsville. And we did a lot of testimony about trying to save that, but obviously we were not successful. So. Well, do we want to retain this position? So if there is some kind of movement to destroy, demolish some historic buildings, that we can have can make a statement about it? Or do you want to
I
drop
think it's
it?
worth keeping. I mean, I think that if some issue does come up, for example, you know, what are they going to do with that mural that's on Old City Hall? I mean, that would be worth saving, I think, if we need to, you know, put in some discussion about that. Just for one example.
Well, it at least gives us a voice, a position to give voice to something rather than having to not say anything.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, and otherwise,
Who knows
it
what's going to come
doesn't
up.
take a lot of work.
The way it reads though is we would be supporting the commissions, right? So does that mean we would be supporting the commission's position? It doesn't mean we would be, you know, I mean, if we had a position, it's
Well,
about us supporting the commission, right? It's not about us supporting historic preservation.
well, the whole statement says support effective Edwardsville and Glen Carbon Historic Preservation Commissions and encourage the designation of areas and or
Okay.
sites in the communities as historic landmarks.
Yeah,
No.
I would vote to support, retain that.
Okay. The third position is rather complicated. It's the support the recreational systems consensus positions. And in 1977-78, the league began a study of current recreational systems in the Edwardsville area. And then in the 78-79 year, they refined it to survey the public and private recreational programs in the area encompassed by the boundaries of the league. Some of the things we were recommending was a public swimming facility, a greater number and variety of indoor and outdoor recreational programs, a resource center for information on new and existing programs. Okay, we recommended that all units of local government should cooperate in funding recreational programs, and that land be acquired in advance of developments for future parks and recreational sites. And we were very active. And at one point, we had a committee that talked to some companies in St. Louis that specialized in recreational development. And there was an aquatic committee. And we had in 2002, we held public meetings, and there was a rough drawing, a plan made for a public swimming pool. And in the fall of 2003, the governing bodies of 3 local jurisdictions passed resolutions supporting the findings of the aquatic committee, but no funding was approved.
No, Edwardsville and the township approved it, Glen Carbon did not, so they stopped.
Mhm. Yeah. So we were very active back then, especially in the area of the swimming pool. Now there
Well, that's
is,
what I'm referring to, the swimming pool.
now we do have a swimming pool. Okay.
Seems to me that Edwardsville is really kind of taking this whole recreation thing very seriously. It's, we got the swimming pool at the high school, the one at SIU, of course, the Y. We've got some hockey or ice rink coming up, or that wrestling center. I mean, I think the city is providing quite a bit of recreation. I don't know if we need to keep this personally. It's because it seems like it's kind of out of our hands. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of the way I think about it.
Well, several years ago, Ruth Ellis and I did a kind of a review of what's happening, and we presented it at an annual meeting, and I cannot remember what year that was. And we did vote to retain this position. Because I thought back then, Carol, I thought it was probably outdated, but the membership voted to retain it.
Well, I'm not sure that, I mean, if we retain it, I'm not sure that there's any, if we have any purpose for the future. I mean, maybe we do, maybe we should retain it just in case, but like I said, it seems to me that there's a lot of, they got a whole new park for soccer and stuff. I mean, I don't even know where these places are, but, they're developing all of this stuff because Edwardsville is such a wealthy community. They want their kids to play sports. So, I'm not a big sports person, so I really don't know much more than a tiny bit. So
Are all of the, like, say the SIU pool, do they have like, I don't know if you call them scholarships, but are all of these places accessible to people with low incomes or no incomes, or?
the only one I know about is the Y. They are, but I don't know about SIU. It's run by the city of Edwardsville and Glen Carbon now, but I don't know what their policy is.
I don't know what the rules are.
Well, the cost of it probably, I don't know, but I'm guessing the cost of that is not as great as it is to play hockey or on
Oh,
some
no.
baseball teams and things like that.
Yes.
Well, I'm just, concerned, like they're putting in the new, like the new ice skating rink, right? And whatever else is going in with that. Are they looking at that, to be used up for like, select teams can rent it, rent time there? Or
But they wanted to pay for itself.
there's what?
They wanted to pay for itself.
They want to pay for
Taxpayers
itself.
do not want to pay for it.
No, they want to pay for itself, but I think there needs to be somebody to watching to make sure, because if it pays for itself, so that's not taxpayer funded at all.
It is now, but I'm accusing, they wanted to pay for itself.
Okay, because I was just concerned, that we don't use taxpayer funding to develop things that end up only be used, like, well, there's no skate time for anybody because it's all used up by select teams that are
Oh,
renting.
no, I'm sure they'll have free time, but I do not know that.
And if I remember correctly, because this has been 2 years ago now, I think that there were scholarships or reduced entrance fees out at the pool at SIU. And I think that there may have been some bus passes too, but I don't believe that they were functioning last summer, so my memory could be
Maybe.
faulty.
Well, it seems to me that on this policy, on this position, that anything that would come up now would require a study anyway. If we wanted to study if we wanted to take a position on some new, like the ice rink that came along, we'd have to study it to find out, even though we had a position, we'd have to study that particular issue. So I don't know that old position, would that apply to anything we'd actually be doing, or is it outdated and we just need to come up with a new position?
I thought it was outdated a couple of years ago. But that was, when Ruth and I presented our findings, I think the membership at the annual meeting voted to retain it. But we were supporting a swimming pool, and that's here. We have a variety of indoor and outdoor recreational programs. It seems like we're developing, a lot of programs. We were
The only thing I was going to say, the only thing is if you drop it and something comes up, then we cannot act quickly. You know what I'm saying? Because it takes time to adapt a new study and do all the work and all that. This
I
way,
agree with
we'll
you,
have
Joanne.
some basis.
We'd have to start over.
mhm.
I'd like to play devil's advocate on that and suggest that we keep the position, because my concern is that, a lot of the things we were looking at earlier, like swimming pools and green space, I think they have been addressed, but I'm seeing a trend toward organized, infrastructured, equipment heavy sporting things. And I'm seeing not much for unstructured play areas, like pickup baseball. All those diamonds seem to have been disappeared now because it's structured stuff.
Mhm.
You can play pickleball or organized baseball, but you can't, there's not many places you can just go pick up and organize your own team. And I've been having conversations with people about, what are kids learning if things are all organized for them? So I don't know if there's an opportunity to argue for unstructured green areas or something like that. I would like to have a position there so that we can maybe have a voice in that.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. It would be good, I guess, to keep it in case we wanted to, have this very question.
And
No.
I agree. I think we should keep it because then you have some basis to start from.
Okay, so it sounds to me like we do have a consensus to retain that one.
Yeah.
Okay, fourth position is support the school governance positions of 1982, 83, and the quality of education positions of 1984. And this is, in my opinion, dated also. See what you think. Public schools have been a part of our local program agenda since 1955. And 183 and 84. Back then, the school population in Edwardsville was declining. So some of these positions reflect that. But one of the first ones was to foster a sense of openness and to encourage public participation in the decision-making process of the school district. There was a position to establish formal lines of communication between the parent and parent-teacher organizations and the district. And then they talk about preferring smaller classes rather than establishing combined classes. At some of the schools at one point, the classes in several grades were so small that they were combining it and putting two grades in the same classroom. But most of our activities related to this position has been in supporting different bond issues, and particularly for the building of the high school.
Correct.
And part of that was to build and equip an indoor swimming facility at the high school. It did not pass. And so most of what we have done under this position is to look at proposed tax referendums and hold meetings and informational meetings about them. And in 2000, we did publish a Know Your District 7 Schools and Know Your Private Schools. Okay.
Would that come under there? So the governance law. So what about if we wanted to say something about the school resource thing that came up in our restored, in our criminal justice reform things, about police on campuses, and where we said we needed a memorandum of understanding, to where we would support having that have to be in place. Does that come under that, or does that come under something else?
I don't think that this position would allow us to address that. We could do it under the criminal justice position
Oh, okay.
when it is passed through by
And
the
state passes.
but under this position, it doesn't sound like it. We talk about the smaller classes and aides rather than create combined classes. It talks about the high school students should have an opportunity to take a wide range of electives. And then it talks about deficit spending.
Does it say anything about, what do you call, like, I'm not thinking very clearly tonight, like welding and,
Vocational training.
Occasional.
right, does it say, would that come anything under there, a supportive vocational as part of that? I guess we haven't done a study on that, or?
No, we haven't. It talks about, we're recommending that they add a period to the class day. Okay, rather than having all of these early bird classes. Okay. But there's nothing about vocational education.
It seems to me that this whole education study has, the focus is refocused now. I mean, if you watch the school board people, it's all about, remote learning and COVID-19 and how to deal with that, how to deal with inclusion and diversity. I mean, that's what they're talking about now. So I don't know that if those are included in this study or if we would have to have a new study if we wanted to look at that.
Yeah, I think we would have to have a new study because it's not mentioned at all. And
COVID didn't exist 19 years ago.
Neither
But-
did remote learning.
and diversity was not on anybody's front burner at that point.
Are they talking about diversity in the student population, or are they talking about diversity?
I think they just said D&I. I mean, you know how politicians are. They didn't really go into what exactly they
Only
meant.
thing about if we would drop it, obviously there are branches that we study if people want. The only thing would be if a tax referendum came up.
And that probably will, schools are gonna have,
And see, and that's been the main focus of all those years, was to support the various tax referendums that come up, not just for the new high school, but various other increases. And I know at one time they were concerned, well, they did have the problem where they had used their, Carol, what do they call it? A reserve fund.
The reserve fund, yes.
Yes, because they did not have enough money. So, I mean, that
Well,
was thinking.
Another thing, sorry.
Go on.
Another thing that you read right in the beginning was communication between the, among different elements of the school, parents, PTOs,
Mhm.
administration, board, whatever. I don't remember exactly what you said, but that's still relevant.
Yes.
I mean, we could, definitely, if they wanted to propose a new specific study, we could do that.
And we,
That aspect, but we could still keep what we have in case they come up with a tax referendum and we want to support it.
are not.
Or not, correct.
I would suggest we retain it for that part, but then I think under new program, we might need to look at some of those things.
Right.
The fifth. Turn the page here. The fifth one, position. Support the 1999 comprehensive land use plan for the city of Edwardsville. It says land use planning has been a constant in the League of Women Voters of the Edwardsville area local program. From the early days, there was a focus on zoning. And in 1969, the league began studying comprehensive plans for Edwardsville. Okay. And we have continued to review those comprehensive plans. And I thought some of the positions listed here were interesting. One of them was expansion into the American Bottoms, and the designation of that land for industrial development troubles us. Our state League of Women Voters position calls for protection of prime agriculture land from lesser uses and intensive development. In addition, the 5-year water supply recharge area is in this expansion area. It seems prudent to minimize the risk of pollutants from all sources, agricultural, transportation, residential, and industrial in this environmentally sensitive area. And you all know where that is, don't you?
Yes.
Plus the warehouses here.
Know where the warehouses are.
Yes, and there was opposition when they wanted to expand 255.
Okay. Another one of the positions is that downtown Edwardsville is just one of the many areas where there is commerce, but they felt at that time of this was adopted that the league recommended efforts to continue to keep people and activities downtown. And that the league recommends concerted efforts to preserve, maintain, and enhance the rich fabric of this, the third oldest town in Illinois.
But didn't the position also approve the Glen Carbon?
Yeah, that's number
I
six.
think we should keep this one.
I support the having the plans, but I'm a little, in Glen Carbon anyway, I want to look at, I'm trying to look at some of the zoning that they have on single family residential and, some of that. So I don't know exactly how that's put into the plan, if that means approving exactly what they have or we're approving having one.
Last time we reviewed the Glen Carbon plan, and I know we're getting ahead one item, but I think the Edwardsville and Glen Carbon plans are kind of the same topic. I think having those allows us to go in and review the plans. And that's one of the first things that I did with Ginger McCall led that when we reviewed the Glen Carbon comprehensive plan. And it's a way to kind of help suggest to the village or the city what zoning is appropriate or not, or what should be changed or not. So it really ties directly into zoning. And I think keeping both of those open is a good idea, because if there is a review of either plan, we could then step forward and ask to be involved in that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm concerned about zoning in Edwardsville just because some of the buildings seem to stand out from their neighborhoods, the new buildings.
Yes.
So does that say we approved Edwardsville and Glen Carbon's comprehensive plans? Does it say we approve them or we support having them?
Okay.
What's the wording on that? Huh?
Read it. Support this for Edwardsville says the 1999 comprehensive use plan for the city of Edwardsville.
You approve it or we support it?
Support. And
So
then,
they have probably
and
updated.
we have reviewed it since then.
Yes.
And I know for Glen Carbon, we ended up reviewing it, making suggestions, and then approving their final update of it.
Yeah, well, maybe this is the one that we need to revise because of the, the long ago-ness of when it was started. If they have new land use plans.
And I'm sure the plan has been updated since 1999.
Yes, I'm sure it has. We just have to, if we have recorded it somewhere in our records, I have not found that yet. So,
Yeah, we reviewed that since we have reviewed those.
yeah, I think we have. I think sometimes our record keeping was not what it should have been.
Could we reword that so that it doesn't refer to specific years and plans and just have something like, we support the use of a comprehensive land use plan and want to be involved in reviewing it whenever it is up for review or something like that?
Yeah, we could revise it. What we're going to do here is decide if we want to retain, drop, or revise. And then at our board meeting, we're going to have to hammer out, if we want to change things, hammer out the wording and what we're aiming for. So if you would like to say, we would revise the comprehensive use, the position for the comprehensive use plan for Edwardsville, we can do that and then work out wording, before.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
So we'll revise that one. Okay, the sixth position is support the 2002 comprehensive land use plan for the village of Glen Carbon. And then it's originated in 1984 when members of the league who were residents of Glen Carbon studied and made recommendations
And I
And
think
it-
that 2002 one is part of the review that I was part of, and I'm sure it has been reviewed and revised since then. The league was not involved in it
I
though.
think so too.
So same thing, I'd like to take the specific years out of that and just say, you know, yeah, we support the use of a comprehensive land use plan, and we want to review it whenever it's up for review.
Okay. Okay.
That way we won't have to update these every time there is
Right.
a review of them.
Right.
We could say something in there, but we support having plans like these with community input.
Yeah, and regular review. Yeah, that would be good.
And just a minute. Okay, and then we have a position on support the Cool Cities initiative of Edwardsville and Glen Carbon and other communities' initiatives to improve environmental quality in the area. Now, if you remember when we did the criminal justice study, how, well, there was a committee that provided us with a lot of information that we were supposed to digest and answer some questions and develop positions.
Mhm.
I can't find in anything that I have, the annual meeting booklets are the minutes of the annual meeting, that we did any kind of a study like that for this Cool Cities.
I think we did not, but I think that our policy was based at that time, and I don't know if this was correct, but it was based on a national platform that they had, and Cool Cities fit into that platform. So I forget who was the president then, but we did not do a formal study.
No,
Let's put it
no.
that way. It was not done.
Okay.
I'm sure Chris Crusoe would know whatever there is to know about that.
I'm sure.
I think that was before Chris, though.
Yeah, it was
maybe.
before his time. He's involved now, but when we first went to the Cool Cities program, I don't think he was here yet.
Well, I take no, because he was one of the founding, he's the one that in Glen Carbon he was, because he came to
In
me.
Carbon, but not Edwardsville.
Was Edwardsville before, did they have one before Glen Carbon?
Yeah, and I think Rachel Tompkins was involved with this.
Yes.
Yeah, I was also involved in it, starting it, and I know we did not do a study, but segued from the national
Okay.
position.
So do we want to retain this?
Does support of community solar come under that?
I would think it would.
If it's Cool City,
There are state and national positions on solar, so I'm sure we can pick something up.
okay.
Well, that's part, you're right, it's part of Cool City, so that would support it.
And in our annual meeting booklet, there was a okay, support the affordable housing study phase 2, but we never really did come up with position statements for that, so I did not include that as something that we should review now, because as far as I know, we have not formulated any particular positions.
I think we did have a position on senior, I think we did it. What, didn't we put that in one of our books on senior?
We did write a letter supporting that the senior citizens buildings that's happening on Hillsborough.
But we didn't put that into our positions on in our book.
No.
No,
Well, it's too bad we didn't follow through on that, because we definitely wanted to support for affordable housing.
well, is that committee still
We
meeting?
haven't been meeting, but I get, but we should, because we need that, we should have that position in there.
Right.
Yeah, especially
So,
since,
as far as I understand, they have, from year to year, they've said to continue it, but we've never come up with some concrete recommendations, like 1, 2, 3, 4 type thing.
Mm.
do we want to recommend that the Affordable Housing Committee be reactivated? There seems to be a lot of interest now within the communities about affordable housing.
Well, I'm just trying to think if, Carol, you would know, I mean, did we come up, we presented several times to the membership, or a couple of
Mhm.
times anyway. And I'm thinking we really had enough information there to present it to the membership for approval of a position. I don't know.
I think we have presented enough that we could have a position that says we support people being able, and we're talking about that. People being able, housing for people that work here in our community, at lower wages.
Mhm.
I mean, we've reported on that. I guess we really didn't do like the actual statistics, which maybe like some things that probably came out in that hearing today, but yeah, I don't know, maybe I don't know how far a
I
study
think
has
we
to
ran
go.
into problems because we couldn't really define what we meant by affordable housing. We didn't have
We didn't
the
really have,
statistics to back it up. And I think that I now see John Harvey's group and the city of Edwardsville are now taking that on and are probably giving it more definition than we were able to. I think that we could effectively partner with some group like that. But I'm not sure that we have not successfully been able to do a study on that ourselves. We don't really have the data and maybe the focus. And I think our time would be better spent supporting somebody else who's already working on that and trying to maybe influence their policy and support it rather than doing a study ourselves.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. I think we should just support people working for affordable housing, including the city and the Edwardsville Housing Alliance, and support the city for hiring a professional to do a report, because it's really truly beyond, I think, any of our abilities to gather those statistics and do the analysis. It's a very complex issue, so I think we should just support a report on that.
So you would like to revise this position to read something like, support the efforts of these other two committees and partner with them when appropriate, or something like that.
Support organized efforts
Mhm.
toward affordable housing in this area. I don't think we even need to name the specific groups because that may shift over time too.
Right.
now, is Glenn Carbon doing a study like this? Do you
No.
know?
No,
When carbon is, can't say that.
Glenn Carbon is here too.
Oh, hi,
Mhm.
Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think, yeah,
I sat in on the meeting, the Zoom meeting that from 6 to 7, and that Emily Foltz presented. And she had some statistics that we hadn't had before, such as the number of rental units in Edwardsville at the different price ranges, and housing costs and things like that. Hers are not, they wouldn't pass any statistically significant test in a way, because she just did them on a specific date, and that one date may not be represented over a period of time. but it did give people the different levels of housing income, depending on the percentage that people could afford to pay for housing, and the number of units in Edwardsville as of February that were in that category. In fact, I think it'd be good to have her come talk to our group, actually.
I think that's a good idea.
He did say that it was being recorded, and if anybody wanted to have a recording, they could request it. So if our group just wanted to have the recording, we can, as a group, listen to it.
Right. And they also gave us, there's the opportunity to send in questions or comments that we can still do that. I have a question I'm going to ask.
Yeah, she said, go to their Edwardsville, City of Edwardsville webpage and go under our community page to find how to ask the questions.
Yeah, and then there, under our community, there's a place for, it says affordable housing. And you can give them your email and they'll keep you in the loop.
Okay. Okay, so for the affordable housing, we want to revise it.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, that ends the review of our current positions. Are there suggestions for new studies?
Carol, I wanted to ask you about, you were interested in the broadband aspect, and what does that entail?
I did not bring that up as a state issue because I'm not in the position right now to lead that or be in that. I've got other commitments on that state, but there is a statewide effort and organizations working on that, making it a public utility. So there would be access to everybody would have access to broadband. Access to internet.
Is that what?
Throughout the state, it would be like a
Okay.
public utility.
Okay. Since the remote learning has become a problem for some people in our community, is there a local study we could do about assessing? Carol, I have no idea what broadband is or what I'm talking about, but would there be a benefit to the community of finding out if broadband was accessible in our league area, which is the boundaries of District 7?
We can see the need. So broadband is internet. That means you have access to internet. So like with this, like a lot of kids, and we can do a study to see how that affects our community. Some communities like Fairmont City, they just got a grant. I mean, Collinsville, a lot of places, the school districts had to buy hotspots. A lot of the students, if you don't have internet in your house, then you can't do remote learning. If you're a senior citizen who can't afford internet, there's a lot of health information, or a lot of things that you could not afford to do. And I think it's a problem in rural areas. Now, rural areas might not be so much here, but we might have the students and we might have senior citizens, that can't afford internet. And so, how is that affecting, how would that help them if we had community-wide internet?
Yeah,
So that
I imagine that, I think this is a very timely topic. On the other hand, I'm sure the schools are doing studies on this, and maybe other people are too. I don't know. We don't want to duplicate. That's what I'm thinking.
but we can't take a position on it until what? Until
Either the state has a position or we have to.
we study or the state comes up and support. What? Joanne.
we
what's
won't
that?
know until,
Oh, the state.
well, at the state convention is when they will approve new studies. And so far, we have not received any communications about what the studies are or what studies they are proposing.
I would bet that is an issue they pick up. It just depends if they had someone that's willing to lead it. But I bet it's an issue.
And I know every school board or candidate has mentioned the need for the internet access in the school. So every single one of them did mention that. So it must be, topic they're considering. And I know the library bought, I don't know, I can't remember, X number of hotspots for kids who did not have it that they could check out in the school district.
Yeah, and I don't know how accessible the internet is in the northern area of the school district. Hamel and Warden and, that area up in there.
I think a lot of kids had some problems and had to go elsewhere to do their schoolwork other than home. That's what I've heard from some people I know that live up there.
Yeah. What?
It's hard in the northern areas. They don't have good broadband up there.
It's not just the northern area too. When I was listening to our forums, that candidate from Ward 2, I didn't know where the wards were, and I went and looked at the map because she was talking about there not being much infrastructure there and hoping that the trails would be finished to give people safe way to walk back and forth. And I looked at District 2 and it's like huge, and it's kind of up to the north and the west, and it stretches all the way over to 270, and it's got little pockets in and out of it all over the place. And I would bet there's not good internet access through that. All the kids are there. It's spread out.
Brussels and Hardin,
I
Marquette,
live,
awful.
I didn't hear what you said, Chris.
I said, I had experience up at Marquette area and Hardin and
Oh.
Brussels Peninsula. The internet out there is very, very poor.
Well,
That's out of our area, isn't it? That's out of District 6.
Jersey County area and what south.
But we just have to look in the Edwardsville Glen Carbon School District area, right?
Well, that's our official area,
Yeah,
correct?
that's the league area. Carol Geip, how is the internet out by you?
I was going to say that we live halfway between Edwardsville and 140. And we're in a dead zone for the internet, and we have gone to great expense to have a decent internet, of an antenna, and a monthly fee that's pretty exorbitant. But that's because we persisted and gotten something established, but it has been a real slog to get there. I don't know what others do around us, but I know that it's not a good area for broadband at all. And we're pretty close to Edwardsville and Holiday Shores, which is fairly populated, but we don't get much here. So it's a problem. It really is. And I imagine people who live even further out than we do have problems.
If it's not a public utility, then it's completely commercial, whether they want to extend it or not, correct?
That's right. That's right. It's commercial. It's for profit. It's for profit. It's not for convenience for people. If they can't make money, we've asked, why can't we get something down in here? Not enough houses. It won't make us enough money to supply and service that area. So we have to come up with our own. Yeah, that's right. It's a money-making thing. So a utility service like we have Southwestern Electric, and it's owned by it's owned by the people who participate in it, and we need a utility, something like that, but it's not here.
Also, the prices they charge can be determined by them.
We pay a lot of money to get the service that we have here. To Verizon and Viasat and Dish, yeah, all those things. Mhm. It is a
Well, we could put this, on the agenda to talk about at board meeting to see if we could shape some kind of a viable study that we would be able to handle and to find the information. But any new studies need to be brought up now because the board has to approve them and shape them, I guess, and approve them. And then they have to be presented to the membership a month before the annual meeting. So this, we would have to have them published to the membership in May. So whatever ideas you have that might make interesting studies, this is the time. I don't know, you were talking of somewhere during the discussion tonight, we were talking about diversity. I don't know if that's something that want to tackle, or other people doing that kind of study and perhaps doing it with more power than we might have.
I don't know what's going on in the Edwardsville School District. I know from UCM, Fallon, that diversity in the teachers is an issue. And the new superintendent in the Collinsville district, I just heard him say that he's making that a priority in their district too, is to diversify the teachers. How many Black teachers do we have? Do we have, and even of other people of color, but I don't know do the Black kids see teachers that look like them in our school district very much?
I don't know, but every school board candidate mentioned it, so obviously they're looking at it.
they did. DIE, yeah. Mhm.
So then are we able to
And-
support that without doing a study? Do we have to have a study in order to support them, to make a statement of support?
No, we have state and national positions on that, so we would have to see what they have to say if we could tie it in.
Okay.
Well, because the city is starting to talk about affordable housing and also renewable energy, I think we ought to be, instead of getting a new study, I mean, if you want to do a new study, you can, but I think maybe we need to be actively supporting those two areas, since the city is getting into both of those, and this would, maybe our voice would add some weight to that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm the
Thanks.
chairman of the Cool Cities Committee in Glen Carbon.
Yeah.
Carol knows.
I
And,
didn't know you were moved up to chairman, but
well, John,
Well, I think Rachel is something in the one in Edwardsville.
there is a major relationship now with the Grow Solar program with St. Louis. St. Louis now has a Grow Solar program, and the contractor is the same. So there's collaboration between Grow Solar St. Louis and Grow Solar Metro East. And in addition, I don't know if you know this, but Granite City Tuesday evening voted unanimously for a solar garden, a big solar installation that will go in west of Granite City, just on the other side of Highway 3. It's called the Mulberry Project. We've been watching it, several of us, and I don't even know if Rachel knows about it, but it was adopted. Their zoning people approved it. It's a large piece of property that's out there just west of the Armenian church. So we're following that pretty carefully, because it will mean that over 500 low-income subscribers will benefit with a very large reduction in their AMRIN bill if they subscribe. It won't start until February 2022. So that's one big thing that happened that I wanted to report to you. I couldn't get on to the meeting because on the lower step going into the garage ended up on the floor. And so I had to cook dinner tonight. But she's doing
Okay.
well. Yeah, she's doing okay. She's got, the rice, rest, ice, compress, and elevate. So she's elevating. And I may end up taking her to the hospital tomorrow. But anyway, I saw an email from Rachel where she talked about, was on your agenda, there's something about Cool Cities Glen Carbon and Cool Cities Edwardsville. And I see a collaboration that may evolve, okay, over the next 4 or 5 months, promoting solar on schools. The acronym is SOS, by the way, solar on schools. The outfit that does our Grow Solar program is a nonprofit called the Midwest Renewable Energy Association. Some of you know about it. They have a special program called Solar on Schools, which is it's been very successful. And they're interested in establishing contacts down here. So I'm just letting you know that that's something that may evolve, maybe something that the league might be interested in. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other issues or concerns in the community that we know about that we might be able to shine some light on?
What about satellite voting? Did they, this last election, presidential election, I guess they had those back into Venice. Well, that's not in Edwardsville though. In ours, we still have those. So we have
Well, if the HR
drop boxes.
passes, that will negate all of the statewide restrictions. That's
If the what?
why, For the People Act, and it did pass the House of Representatives. And I don't know if it's going to be able to be brought up before the Senate. But that, I just heard them talking about that on TV yesterday. If that passes, then all these 43 state regulations they're trying to push, that will override all that. So that is really crucial. The thing of it is, our 2 senators are going to vote for it, but, in our Illinois, but that's not true everywhere. So that's something we have to, and I thought Katie Stewart, doesn't she have a bill up for the General Assembly about having drop boxes? I think I saw that someplace, and I tried to find it in my stack of papers and I couldn't.
I went to a coffee with her the other week and she said she was going to propose that. I don't know what the number is or anything.
I think she has.
She felt that it was really important because it was so efficient during the.
Oh, it
month of
is,
November.
right.
Well, I guess we ought to let Durbin and Duckworth know about what our position is on the Voting Act. We know they'll vote for it, but still, maybe it'd be good for them to know they have some support.
That's exactly right. They do need to know that. Because you can bet your bottom dollar the ones who are against it are telling you.
Yeah, I got an email from the National League saying to write to my senators. So I did, even
Right,
know
good.
that they were going to pass it or vote for it.
It's so much easier now with emails.
Yeah, it's
Everybody should do that.
60 seconds.
Your local, your state, and the national representative, they need to know how you feel.
And I put that on that letter the email that came in from I guess it was the state, LWVEA. I put that on our website. So that people and and get to their senator. But the guys to be thinking about, and that is, as we were going through these positions and whatever, everything we were going through tonight, I was thinking, what in this package that we have, that we give out to everybody for the annual meeting, what do you guys want to put on the website? Right now, I just have some generic things for positions and for studies, and for if anybody wants to put something specific about our particular league in some particular place on the website, I could add a new menu item. I can, it's really easy to update if you give me the words. All I got to do is add a page and put it on the menu. So if there's something that you would like for non-members, because this is a public website, non-members to know what our stand is or what our positions are, and you look at our website and there's nothing on there, if there's something that you want me to put on there, let me know.
I was going to check that out. I'm assuming most places put their, what they call the where we stand on the website.
Well, and when the website was stood up last fall, they gave me a structure. They gave me certain menu items.
Right.
And I filled in whatever I knew about, like I know about voting, so I could put in about, click here for the voting
Right.
guide for IL, I can do that, but I'm not really certain how to fit like what we just discussed tonight. I don't know where that goes in the structure, but that structure is not in Granite. If it says issues and you'd rather have it say something else, I can just change it to, this is how we stand, where we stand, whatever. So that's the template that they use for all of the websites that they start up. But each
Right.
league can change the template any way they like.
So I think we need to check out a couple other websites. I mean, see what other leagues, how they handle that instead of reinventing the wheel constantly. So yes, we will check that out before the board meeting.
Okay.
Well, if you'd like to have an item from the Grow Solar program, which is supported by all of the jurisdictions around Metro East, I'd be happy to share that with you, Barbara.
Well, it has to go through the board. The board would have to tell me where they'd want it on the menu.
Well, I can send it to you and then you can do with it however it has to be administered. We have,
Okay, I'll send it to the board. I'll send it
Oh,
to
I see.
Carol and Joanne. Carol, is your email working now? Okay.
That seems to be, at least today.
Okay. Your audio's working good for a change.
Right.
Put that in the chat for Chris.
I'll send it to Carol. I don't have, I'm on my smartphone here, but I will send it to Carol.
All right, send it to me and I'll forward it to them. Or did you mean Carol Brian King?
Well, there are
Carol,
there are 3 or 4 Carols here tonight.
I realize that. I'll send it to Carol June because
Yes.
she's right down the street from me.
Send it to me. Don't run it over.
No, I'll send it to you.
Send
I'll
it to
send it
me
to you.
because I know you have my email.
I'll send it to you probably maybe this evening
All
later.
right, I'll send it right on. Well, depending on when you send it, it might be tomorrow.
I have another question that really isn't applicable to this, but did anybody go out on the corners holding up the vote signs that first weekend in March?
I did.
I never heard.
I,
You did.
Jean Brunworth and I did.
Good.
Got any photos to post?
Connie Funkhauser.
Yeah, I saw
and
you. It was
Carol
pretty
Gokin
cool.
and I stood at the corner of the library.
Oh,
Pardon?
good. Did anybody take any pictures?
No, and darn it, I
I
thought
have-
about it and we didn't.
I mean, that's something
I
we
have-
put on the website that looks like we're doing. So,
I have one picture. I have a picture of the 3 of us
Oh,
that
great.
I can send to Barb.
send it to Barb.
I'll send it to you, Barb.
I wonder if we
Super.
could get something like that in the intelligence or like a couple of days before the weekend, that weekend vote activity.
But we could also, are we doing that again pretty soon? We could ask them ahead of time if they'll
Or
send
if
someone
we
out
could
to
send the
interview one of
pictures
us.
and give them to, you know, they might. Yes, it's the weekend before the election, what is that, the 3rd and 4th of April? Easter weekend.
Not very long.
Uh,
Yeah, Easter weekend.
So we will definitely have to get a message out to all the league members and see if, you know, we have some more volunteers to do that.
Because that's right before election day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when we decided we would do it, to remind people. I have a vote sign in my yard, so.
Okay. Well, not hearing any more suggestions for programs are action focus. Are we ready to adjourn? Or do we want to chat?
Can I just mention something that just kind of occurred to me a few minutes ago? You know, after listening to the issues briefing, and I attended this one about redistricting,
Mhm.
and does the league, surely the league must have a position on, you know, independent commissions
Yes,
should,
the state does, yes, correct.
okay, so we
That's
don't
one
have.
of the things they really want us to monitor when these bills start coming up.
Mhm.
Oh, they also, when people are doing the legislative interviews, to talk to their legislators on how they feel about that. Has anybody decided to do that?
I said I would do that. I need to maybe talk to you more about that tomorrow or think about that. I forgot all about that.
Okay, because I think they want it done, you know, by the 1st of April, because that's when the General Assembly goes back into session, and then they're not in their home district offices.
Well, I think, are you talking about getting the redistricting done? Because the person who did that briefing said that because the, you know, the 10-year census data is going to come in so late that it will not be available until like September to do the,
Go ahead and do it on the 10th of June.
so he
What
said
is
the
okay?
whole procedure is going to be delayed. And it may even end up delaying the date of the primary elections next year.
That's not necessarily true. I've been listening to some interviews with Don Harmon, who's the head of the House or Senate now.
So-
Yeah, and they're saying that there's other data sources that they can use. They are not legally required to wait for the census. This is one of the few states that can use other data, and they're looking at other data that might be accurate enough to start doing the process, because their goal is to go ahead and get the redistricting done so it doesn't have to go to that second or third committee. That's just too onerous. And he said basically an independent commission would be a great idea, but there isn't time now. So he's not looking at that as an option now, but there's been a lot of interviews with him and other people who are on that committee. So they're moving forward, and there are hearings starting now across the state. We're supposed to have hearings in every area to get input from people. So we should keep an eye out for when that happens in our area.
Right.
Anything else we need to chat about?
Carol, if it's helpful, I've been recording this meeting and I'll send you a link to it sometime tomorrow when I get it put up there, if you will need the recording of it.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay. Anything else to bring up? Okay.
Nope.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Will make I'll second
All
it.
right.
Carol June
Everybody
second.
says it.
And do we have
Okay.
objections to adjourning?
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Night.